Just got done with our second practice of the week for the bye week. Goals for the week are to recover, to improve, keep elevating the culture. We made those things explicitly clear for our guys. Certainly not a week to take our foot off the gas in terms of any of that stuff right there. But also got to use it wisely. A lot of guys have logged a lot of reps so far, 5 games into the season. We want to make sure we take some of the not the physicality of practice, but some of those physical moments and periods of practice, ease some of those reps off of the guys that have logged a lot of reps and really increase the amount that the twos and the threes have, the guys that haven't gotten as much playing time. For two reasons, try to get those guys better and try to find ourselves a couple other guys that could really help contribute and play down the stretch. And also focusing on 3 areas by position group and also by unit where we can improve upon, whatever that may be, whether it be technical, fundamental, schematically. We want to do that. And then, of course, the most important part, all these guys being student athletes, is making sure that, I've seen bye weeks at places where it's, everybody kind of like relax mode, and we want to be the opposite. We want to make sure that early to class, early to tutoring appointments, everything else that goes with it, just enhance the culture, enhance the standards, keep elevating it, and making sure that we find a way to be successful and win every single day. So, and at the same time, getting a jump on our next opponent, Washington. And that being said, open to questions.
Questions? Do you embrace a rival? Your microphone. That's your first press conference.
Sorry. It's bye week. Do you embrace the rivalry, or is this just any other game? Do you hype up the importance of the Washington rivalry, and what do you know about it?
I think rivalry games hype up themselves. I don't think that's a part I think that most coaches are alleviated of. The motivation is there. It's deep, and it's strong, and so I know that part is in good hands.
On the right over here, Ryan.
Washington has a road game this Saturday evening. How much of an advantage do you think that is to have an extra week to get ready for them?
I think it seems that way when you're successful that day and not when things don't work out, though. Well, I think the bye week for us comes at a very good time, and I think the plan is really, really good. We thought this out. We talked about this way back in the springtime and then researched in the summer. Just, years of research, what has worked out well following a bye week, and also took into account who was your opponent, what were the circumstances, what was your team like, how good was your team, how good was your competition and whatnot, and felt that we could come up with a good plan. We feel really strongly about it. The players feel really good about it today, meeting with them after practice. Sometimes you worry about a bye week because you're in a good rhythm and you don't want to get off that rhythm. So you maintain that rhythm by doing some good work, making sure that the speed of the game is being practiced, that the fundamental, the polish, and the enhancing of the fundamental technical part of every single player on your team has got to be pushed. We're increasing the amount of individual work we're doing this week by a large amount of time in every phase, so we can get better at that and against each other, going to good on good. So I didn't answer your question. I don't have an answer. It's all good. It's all good.
Tyson.
With each week Justin plays, there seems to be more and more chatter about how he's going to project as an NFL player, and there's always scouts there. How much are you guys as coaches talking with scouts and just kind of dealing with that auxiliary stuff, that maybe shielding Justin from that, or just what's your guys' kind of interaction like with those types of people?
Well, with the scouts, we have made this a complete open door policy for scouts. We took that approach. It was something that I learned at the last place I was at. And it gives you an opportunity to enhance the status of your players, because when the scouts are here, they get to watch everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And they get to watch how players practice, how they are around their teammates, the way they learn and process, how they transition from drill work to actual unit work and teamwork. And if a guy, can really enhance his draft status, opening the door like that for scouts, does them a tremendous service. It really does. So we do that, and we handle that. In terms of any NFL talk and any one of our players, we had an agreement before the season started that we weren't going to address any NFL talk for juniors or seniors until after our last game of the season. That's an agreement and a policy we came up with the Leadership Council, and that's going to be our approach to it. Is it out there? Of course it's out there, and with social media, that stuff blows up more and more. But our team, we feel the team is grounded, as well as Justin. So I think all that stuff will be taken care of when the time is right.
Second row left, Eric.
Yeah, new place kicker, new punter, new long snapper, a lot of new guys out there. Kind of, how do you think those guys have played, and will Maimone and Sneak continue to kind of switch off reps?
Yeah, they'll continue to switch off reps and compete. I mean, they're both talented. You see, Maimone's got a cannon and he's got a monster leg, and we worked on a lot of stuff to shorten down his footwork and get the ball off quicker, and it's worked out. They both need to be more consistent. We need to be more consistent at the snapper position as well. There's been a lot of progress, but still not to the level that we want to get to, and they know that. But overall, just pleased with the way that they're continuing to get better. Snee is, he's got the ability to roll out there and do some of the rugby stuff, and he's almost like a pitching wedge. He could kick that ball that just dies on the spot, and he's had some pretty effective kicks down there that have really flipped the field for us and have gotten some hidden yardage for us. So he does some really good stuff, but Maimone has really worked hard at this thing, and the best thing that we could do with those guys is keep that competition open and alive and see who has the best week and what fits the scheme, what type of pressure a team is bringing to be able to use the right guy and be most effective.
Mario, just in your first impressions of Washington's defense, they're obviously leading the league in scoring, not allowing very many points at all, and that secondary is probably going to be the best secondary you guys face this season. Just what are your thoughts on a secondary that good with Murphy and plenty of other guys who just met All-Americans back there?
Yeah. Oh, and then you know what? It goes beyond that. Their linebackers are, same kind of outfit. They're big, they're physical, they're disciplined, they're athletic. They're a complete defense, and there's a reason why they lead the league in scoring defense and many other categories. They know their scheme well. They're very good fundamentally. They get their hands inside. They play with their pads down. Real good defense.
Front left, Tyson.
Is Tabari fully healthy at this point, or what's kind of keeping him from kind of fully realizing? Earlier in the season, you said you expect him to be a big part of this offense, and we just haven't seen him out there.
Well, we expect everybody to contribute somewhere or another. He is doing more extensive rehab work this week, and he, like everybody else, we're going to be involved in some type of competition at their position. He's done some good things, and we're going to keep that competition alive at the receiver position. I mean, Jalen Rudd's done a really good job. Obviously, Dylan Mitchell has had 2 explosive games, so his schoolers played good football for us. So that really kind of sums it up right there. I think for all our guys, they understand the competition is open, and we're going to keep trying to do the best by our guys to get the guys out there that can make plays.
Did you guys anticipate that in terms of having that depth there, or did when he came over, did you kind of not know what you had with Jalen and Brendan? And
I don't think there's anything different at the receiver position, anything else in football or on this football team. I mean, I see a guy like Kano Dillon. He came into a position that may have been fully loaded, but he's getting significant snaps. He worked his way into it and has stayed healthy. Dallas Warmack came into a pretty stout offensive line and has worked himself into playing time. Tabar has come here. He's had some reps, and he's done some really good things and needs to work on some other things. But that really, there's nothing big or little to it, just kind of playing it out as guys earn playing time.
All the way back in the back.
Hey, Coach, your offense had 7 points in the second half last game. Mm-hmm. Are you making it like a point of emphasis to kind of keep the foot on the gas pedal against a very good secondary coming up in next week and a half?
That's going to be a point of emphasis regardless of who the opponent is. 7 points the second half is certainly not good enough. We had an opportunity. We're driving and we fumble on one. Our next drive, we get down in the red zone and, we have a pretty, I wouldn't say an easy conversion, but we have an opportunity to convert a third down and we drop one. We don't connect. Could be the pass, could be the drop. And we settle for a field goal and we miss it as well. So those two things kind of could have kept us right on track in terms of how we were scoring, our numbers per game as so far this season. And then we got the ball at the 3-yard line, and we chewed about 7 minutes off the clock. And a lot of that's purposefully because felt our defense was gassed. But we had an opportunity to convert a third down there again and came up short. So we got to do a better job executing. We got to do a better job teaching it so it gets executed well. I addressed the other day I mentioned you don't make it a panic situation because it's drawn up well. It worked well in the first half, and the tweaks were designed to work well in the second half. We got to make sure that we do get in the end zone because all those, running all those plays and gaining those yards and getting in position and not converting well, they don't serve you much at the end of the game, right? So keep harping on it, keep working it. Red zone defense is one of the strong points of the Washington defense. They do a great job in the red zone. You could see it in game one. Auburn got down there a good chunk of times and couldn't get 7 points. They had to settle for field goals a bunch. So that stuff is always going to be emphasized, and being that we only had 7, it'll be, of course, emphasized even more.
How much has the emergence of Javon Holland kind of improved your secondary and what Jim can do on defense alongside with Ugo?
I'll tell you, he's done. Javon has worked himself into being a really good football player. It's obvious he's instinctive. He has great ball skills. He's a willing tackler. He'll throw his body around in there, and he's improved us on the back end. Coach Levitt, Coach Hayward, who works specifically with the safeties, they've done a really good job preparing him, which allows you to do a couple more things up front because you know that you could play coverage with a little more flexibility. So it's important, to guys like that are, new guys that could step in and play, and the moment's not too big for him. Those guys are invaluable. He's kind of like what Panay is on the offensive side. Those two guys give your team the opportunity to get better through really personnel, talent acquisition. And but he is a student of the game. He's got some things he's got to work on, and he knows that. You could coach him hard, really hard. He was raised the right way, and he's been pushed hard. So his fit to the culture was pretty seamless.
Middle, James, you still need?
Mario, to the game, you mentioned needing to work on coverage teams in particular, and I understand that's usually a pretty small sample size, especially only 5 games in. I think you only allowed like 4 or 5 punt returns, but one long return starts to distort those numbers. Mm-hmm. What does one do exactly to address coverage teams other than emphasizing staying in lanes? What do you do in an off week to try and address that?
Yeah, well, staying in lanes starts so much with technique on your releases, understanding how you got to protect it first and then get downfield. The disappointing part about our coverage this past game was I didn't feel we ran hard down there. And we opened up the game running down there, covered 3 kicks really well. We put some guys in there to see if we could sub some guys, right? It's important as the season goes on to get more guys playing time to take some of the reps off of the guys that have to play full games. And wasn't very pleased at all. I thought the guys did not run down there with the DNA, the toughness, the sense of urgency, the discipline that we teach that with. So Sunday and today, Tuesday and today's practice, there was a heavy emphasis on coverage teams, and we're looking at everybody. I mean, there are guys on this team that we feel it's time to, make a full commitment to see if they can really, really do it. It's guys that kind of showed they could, or maybe could, and they didn't. But it's time to give those guys another chance with this week. So, and we'll get another look at it again tomorrow to see if we could ramp up, because we have to ramp up the competition. We can't have good play in certain phases of the game and then all of a sudden our coverage teams take a break. That's not the DNA of the program. That's not what we want to do. It's not. So we got to grind at it, and we got to make it a huge point of emphasis. So every single coach was involved in coverage today, except for Coach Mirabal. That's not his specialty. He's over there, doing all that blocking stuff. So, but aside from him, every single coach was involved and running down there with him and coaching every single point, every single rep, because we have to get more out of it.
Middle, Matt.
Pro Football Focus called Shane Lemieux one of the most improved players from last season till now. Where do you feel like he's improved the most to garner something like that?
I think he's never stopped improving. Honestly, you watch him. He redshirted his first year here, right? Then he played as a freshman. He'll tell you himself he was lost as it can be. But last year you saw a huge jump. This year you see another huge jump. When a guy goes as hard as he goes and he's as talented as he is, because he's a talented guy, and this guy's threshold for work is insane. Those catapult numbers, measure, it's like that Iron Man thing that they wear, on that patch and that battery. I don't even know what it does, but either way, it shows you the figures at the end of practice and where he is, his ability to push, and it measures your impact force. It measures how much you accelerate, when you accelerate, how many yards you ran at a certain mile per hour. This guy's moving, and he's moving people, and he's moving them at a really steady and hard pace. So the use of his hands, his pad level, getting his feet in the ground, his balance and body control, probably the biggest thing that he's addressed over the course of the offseason. he's always been a physical guy. I mean, he chases you up and down the field. He really is a guy that, I'm sure people don't like to play against him because he's on you all day. He's relentless. He's not going to stop. He's not going to stop. He has endless battery, tremendous motor. So, and honestly, he's another guy. I think his best football's ahead of him. It really is. I mean, and because he grinds at it. But he's I could go on and on about him because he's what you want every player on your team to be like. This guy is a true professional on his approach to what he does on a daily basis. And I point at him, at Throck, and at Jake Hansen, who have been here now 4 years. Those guys approach it like pros. And they are great examples for our young guys. And we force our young guys to see that and study the way that those guys handle their daily obligation. I'm talking about from getting here early to making sure that they eat the right stuff. They're putting on those recovery boots, the night before the game. They get in the ice ups when they're supposed to. They have a certain film regimen that they conduct amongst themselves. These guys are complete and utter pros, and it's paying off in the way he's playing.
Is Cyrus's effectiveness on the goal line just a simple byproduct of he's your guys' biggest back? And what's he got to do like down the road to kind of evolve into an early down backs for you guys? I mean, obviously you guys have talented guys in front of him there, but where's the next step for him?
I think he is an early down back. We do. I think he's an every down back. And those other two guys have earned some playing time. Cyrus is working himself and earning some playing time as well. There's no hesitation on our staff to put Cyrus in right away as a first down back. He is bigger than the other guys, which is, obviously down the short yardage and goal line. So if we have used him, he's earned it. And at the same time, it's, you want to get as many guys as possible playing. It has to be earned as well. Obviously, that's at the forefront of everything. But, I think his role as time goes on will increase more and more. The guy's like a tremendous special teams player as well. A lot of juice, well respected by his teammates. He's got, for a freshman, he's got a good-sized role on this football team. He really does. Very valuable guy.
You're 10th in the country in third down conversions offensively, and it's I think like a 10% increase from last season. Mm-hmm. What do you attribute the improvement for? Can you maybe explain what your guys are doing well in that situation?
Yeah, well, attention to detail on first and second down is getting us into more manageable third downs. That's number one, right? Your third down conversion will always be related to what you do on the previous couple of downs. Protection, I would say the way we finish, the way we game plan, the way our players take in the game plan, the way they study it, our processes leading up all the way to game day and through game day. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Third down efficiency is, as you know, if you look at college football, success on offense has been greatly attributed to third down efficiency and explosive plays, right? And those are two things that we made it a goal to lead the conference and lead the country in as best that we can. So the work is paying off. We put a lot of, third down is such a different down, right? The red zone is such a different situation. Those are two things that we're always going to spend an extraordinary amount of time on, and you'll see that we're probably very different on third down than what you see us do on first and second down. We don't. We take a lot of pride in that, and we feel that we can be better. We feel that we could be a lot better, so we got to work at it harder.
Time for two more. Over here, Ryan.
Mario, fair or not, since the playoff was put into place, the national narrative usually focuses on which teams are going to be in the playoff, and once you lose a game like Washington at Auburn or Stanford at Notre Dame, you're going to kind of get out of the mix there, at least from a perception standpoint. How important do you think it is for the Pac-12 to get in there every year, and how hard is it with 9 conference games?
I think it's important. I think for us, because we have 9 conference games, every single week's a playoff game for us out here. I think if anyone looks at any differently than that, or if anybody starts looking past that, you're going to step in a pothole. You're going to trip and fall. The Pac-12 is too competitive. There's too much parity in the Pac-12 to look on down the road. Is it important to get in there? Absolutely. And it's everybody's goal. We all want that. So I think the drive behind it, the work that's going on behind the scenes to get there, it's always going to be relentless. It's a big goal for all of us, and it should be. I don't think you temper expectations. I don't think you try to. I don't know. I think the playoffs are a great thing. I was lucky enough to be a part of it for a few years, and we that's one of our big goals as well. So I think heck, it's there for a reason. There's a lot of research behind it. Let's do our best so we can get there.
In the middle, James, last question.
Before the season, Washington's receiver core had a lot of questions, just didn't have a lot of proven weapons. But right out of the gate, Aaron Fuller has quickly emerged for them. And in that opening game that you referenced, he really ate alive one of the better secondaries in the country. And across the board, it wasn't just one player. Some of the better guys in coverage in college football, he matched up with unbelievably well for a 5'11" receiver. What do you think of that matchup of trying to defend a guy who's quickly emerged this way?
Well, we've had to defend some pretty good ones the past couple weeks. Guys like that, they're special. You certainly have to account for them. If you blindly go into a game thinking that your vanilla, packages are going to take care of it, you're kidding yourself. I think we all know that. You have to disrupt the timing of the passing game, and that goes with affecting the receivers, affecting their routes, affecting the quarterback, right? Making sure that you make him reestablish that launch point, that he cannot feel comfortable in that pocket, launching the ball from the same spot again and again and again. That's how quarterbacks get in a rhythm, right? So you have to change the picture for him as well. If the quarterback sees the same picture all the time, he knows exactly where to go with the ball, then his timing is going to be on point, especially if protection is good. So then the combination of those things are important. Also mixing and matching who covers him. What type of coverage do you have on him? Whether it's manning him up, whether it's trail coverage and over-under coverage, a zone replace coverage, making sure someone gets underneath his intermediate stuff, his outcuts, whatever it may be. There are answers, and you got to make sure that you dial up and practice your best answers and hopefully call them at the right time.